Should India play a role in resolving the Korean crisis? Well, now a top American commander feels that India can play a role in diffusing the North Korean crisis by helping the leadership in Pyongyang understand the seriousness of the threat posed by its nuclear program. Admiral Harry Harris, who's the commander of the US Pacific Command, says it's for India to decide on what kind of role it wants to play. Harris was quoted as saying, "I think India's voice is a loud voice that people pay attention to. So I think that India could help North Korea perhaps understand the seriousness by which the United States views that threat." India, along with the international community, condemned the North Korean missile tests and has been implementing the sanctions imposed against it by the United States. Early this year, India suspended its trade links with North Korea as well. Let me get in WION senior editor Surya Gangadharan for more on this. Surya, how do you look at this, piece of suggestion or advice, whatever you call it, from the US commander, saying that India should play a role? What sort of role can India play given the circumstances?
Well, I think the General Harris's remarks were made in the context of him being head of the Pacific Command, which includes India. So he would have had an interaction with Indian diplomats, Indian military commanders. Possibly he has a sense that India has a diplomatic voice which can be heard in Pyongyang. And at this point, I think the US is keen that perhaps any country, if it can try and persuade the North Koreans to tone down their rhetoric and be more amenable to negotiations on the nuclear program, well, every help is welcome. So I presume it was in that context that General Harris made those remarks.
And Surya, how would India be looking at this? Is India in a position to provide any sort of assistance, considering how it's battling, crisis at its own borders?
Well, the point here is that would North Korea welcome an Indian role, given the fact that India has gone along with the US in condemning North Korea's actions? There are certain sanctions also India is obliged to observe. So would the North Koreans be amenable to Indian intervention of this kind? That's something to be that our diplomats will have to work out if at some point a decision is taken to try and see if they can help and end the stalemate between on the Korean Peninsula.
All right, Surya Gangadharan there joining us with a perspective on this. Thanks, Surya, very much for joining us.